Yeah, Jeff, get it
I
up.
could have done that.
Jeff, get it
I could have done that.
up. Short people can't be anywhere.
I have a roll.
Jeff, we're set.
Set. Lisa, did you hear we're set?
Hell,
How you doing? Talking, all right, yeah. All right, well, keep it on, we're gonna let everyone know that we're on the out.
Joe, Kelly Dennis. He worked with, well, he knows you.
Well, no, she was at the jail for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know what she did. I can't agree.
Hello, everybody. We're gonna start at 6:30, but I wanna let people know that we're gonna have this on YouTube. And the system is up and running. So that is a live mic. So be careful.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
There's a live mic and a live camera for our YouTube channel. So what you say here and now will forever be in digital form. So be careful. But this is the owl. It kind of has an owl-like appearance. But this is what we use for our regular town board meetings. But we are live right now. Okay, so hello everybody out there. And I just want to make sure people who are in the building know that whatever you say will be picked up. When we won't start until 6:30, and they covered the clock. Yeah, it's 6:07 right now.
Safety. What? It says safety. What safety?
I haven't heard anything about people driving. They're in the car. And someone's one person. That's for the first down. No.
Can you do this in the historical?
They're just paving it right now. They're not fixing anything. What is it? And she's gonna go here like that.
But that's the state of New York.
Yeah, I don't understand. I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand. The reason if someone's personal vehicle and their driver was hit by someone, that's that's pretty unique. I don't think that's a consistent issue.
It is a consistent issue.
So I think they should identify their.
My son got forced to go up the road one time by a truck on that curve. However, there was no other place to go except to say.
Well, if you take that curve out, you're not.
We're not gonna take the curve out.
There's going in the ditch in front of the school.
Yeah.
All the time. It's amazing. They never tip over. And really, the truck. Their tires. The rims separated.
I just don't want
Would have been.
I don't want people in the Hamlet or in this area to come down short on what they have now because the state, DOT, anybody in it just comes along and says, I hate that decision. I haven't seen you in forever.
That has not been done. We want to hear, I have. You can take down there.
Go.
And so we don't want.
I'm gonna go.
To run into a want to do is what we want to do. And that's why this is open There's other ways to negotiate.
Well, I think that's what we need.
When that road was ready to go. And there's ways of making less widening of the shoulders. The roads right now.
Well,
larger than
you can talk all about widening the road, but now when you have somebody coming in as a developer, in a precarious area that would be impacted by any widening on 144, it's like juggling balls in the air and saying, who's gonna win?
These are all the points that we want to the idea that says nothing. It's like engineers like optimal proposal of what not necessarily.
And we may be just country people, and they may be engineers, but we know the rocks. Right? Right.
I know one of the biggest concerns is truck traffic. Which I makes a lot of sense to me, but ultimately, I want to be safe. If that can't be done, one part of the road is where they get safer, so there's a head-on collision there, so be it.
Exactly, and that's what we're working on as well, the truck traffic thing, where we hear that,
I should have given it away.
this guy from DOT, and it's a whole lot of things about the way they develop a permit, special permit for these trucks. He said to me, the Hamlet is restricted, and they're not giving them a route that they should be using on part of the Hamlet. So that, he's working on changing those routes. So there's ways to improve that. So
Grace says, she can't count, she can't hear it.
that's okay. She can watch the YouTube and do the thing. I just want
How long it actually takes for it to happen.
Would she? Are you surprised?
How are you doing?
Well, she's pretty old now. She's doing pretty well, she's 13. Like your last summer, I don't know. It's gonna be terrible. Try to keep her as active as we can. Well, I don't have to go. I don't have to
What if they should think that way? Well, I went to, there was a show, I'm gonna tell you, and I told
Everybody wants to get on camera.
You realize that?
He's got his
Yes, it does. And I've been going by it ever since.
I think actually
My father is 65 years Yes, it's good. I hope there's a few more people.
40 years.
A couple of years ago. So that when you regulate
I'm interested in what your third party balance organization proceeding and replacing existing sidewalk is not
Whatever you do with the state, they just draw some circles and try to line.
So they don't have to necessarily be recent.
Well, it's not just. That's and I don't want Where's Lisa? Where's Lisa?
You got it?
6:27.
That's right.
3 minutes to show. I don't know, maybe I'll sit over here. I'll sit on that hat. Yeah, you want to see Is that something
Again, I don't have a top question. I don't know if this rule is the average.
I am so glad.
Well, it'll be in your neighborhood next year. Oh, this is just a start. You don't really realize. Am I lying? Once the state gets us to
Minus 10.
Because we made it official with I'm gonna get.
This is a proof out of the
Thank you.
Almost there.
I do that. Oh, you should see me somewhere.
That's okay, you're out.
I brought a jacket, but there's no way.
So on the website, study.
Got my water, got my shirt. So I'm gonna be in for a little while. I know, but I got a cup.
Okay, you got it?
I did. Much improved.
You got it.
Hello, everybody. We're gonna start in just a moment. If you can please have a seat, if there's one to be found. I hope there is. In any event, I want to introduce, it is exactly 6:30. I want to introduce Lisa Wallen. I first came across Lisa with the original presentation. We had, I don't know how many different engineering groups come in and tell us what they've done, what they can do, and how we can do this. We had a handful of contractors who were recommended from DOT, who we have 3 members of here today. Anyway, MJ was chosen, and they've done all this work. And they have some interesting stuff for all of you to review. And so Lisa's been the project manager, is that the right title? So, all right, well, Lisa, thank you very much, and take it away.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for your time tonight. We really appreciate you coming out. We've already heard a lot of great comments tonight, got some comments online. We appreciate it. So this is going to be kind of a short 20-minute overview of what's going on here, and then we'll have another 45 minutes or so after to chat with you all, if you're able to stay. So in the next 20 minutes or so, I'll just review these agenda items here, but we've already covered the welcome slide. Town of New Baltimore is this project sponsor. They came up with, they identified, knew that something needs to be done here, and started the process to get money to study a corridor. So they, like Jeff said, chose MJ Engineering to help them out. Again, I'm Lisa Wallen, the highway group manager with MJ. I have the rest of my highway group team and planning team here to help out answer questions. The town did get money from DOT to fund this study, and Jeff, Nick, and Deb are all here from the town. Little overview of the study area. Just as a reminder, if anyone's new to the study, we're looking at 144 between Hill Road on the south and the town line on the north, up by the preserve. I'm realizing that this text is a little small, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know. Just a little overview about where we've been. We did begin the coordination on this study last year, set up a study website, did a whole existing conditions analysis, and prepared an issue summary from that. Late last year, we held our first public input session where we talked about issues to expand on the issues that we already identified and hear additional issues that we weren't aware of. And from that, we started to develop concepts, potential ways to improve on those issues. We went back and forth with the town for a little bit to make some edits to those, and we also went back and forth with DOT to make edits that they wanted to make, and then here we are tonight at our second public engagement. I do encourage you to take a look after the presentation. No question is a bad question. Feel free to ask anyone here. Why did you do that? Or why didn't you think of this? We're all ears. That's why we're here. Because after tonight, we're going to take all these comments, make revisions to the concepts, and then provide the town with a study report. Looking ahead, the town's going to take that report. We can help them identify applicable funding sources to move forward and design and construct some of these improvements. For those of you that were here for the first public meeting, I thought it was worth recapping some of the major issues. It's certainly not all the issues and concerns that people have here. Truck and oversized traffic. We did collect traffic data that was from last summer, I believe. The heavy truck volume was a little over half what we would typically see for this classification of roadway in New York State. This segment of 144 is not designated by DOT as a truck access route or a fall-time highway. And because of that, oversized vehicles are supposed to be getting permits from DOT to travel this corridor. However, as you know, that goes unregulated a lot of the time. That happens. Trucks drivers don't even realize it's necessary. Issue number one. Issue number two that we heard time and time again and saw it ourselves, limited sight distance. I'll talk about this a little bit more. If you pull up to an intersection, cannot easily see in either direction, can't see a car coming, or the car coming down the road can't see you. It's a sight distance issue. Certainly at Main Street, a little bit at Washington Ave. I didn't mention Church Street, but 144 itself has sight distance issues at Church Street. Pedestrian infrastructure, we all know that there's no sidewalks along this whole corridor, with the exception of one home, I think, has a piece of sidewalk, and no safe bicycle accommodations. To our surprise, we came down in here today and saw the road milled. So never mind this photo. Obviously, it needed a facelift, and that is in the works. So that's great news. One thing we did call out, and some of our friends here did as well, that some of the pavement is settling a bit along some of the slopes. So hopefully that's being addressed during this current project. Last major item I wanted to talk about is the drainage, specifically coming down the hill part of 144. It's kind of a mixture of open and closed drainage, and what I mean by that, open ditches, part of it turns into a really deep ditch that might look like a stream from time to time, and then closed drainage is the catch basins and manholes with pipes underground. It's kind of a mishmash through there. We would assume that some of it's undersized and bubbles out of those pipes that go under the driveway. So we would suggest a whole rethink of the drainage, just coming down the hill so that it's not flowing out into the roadway during storms. A quick summary of the input received so far. Basically, it was great to hear that all the issues identified were repeated back to us when we talked to you all last time. So that's really the purpose of this slide. Unsafe to walk, need more curb signs, no mail delivery, people want to walk to get their mail, oversized vehicles damaging property, crashes damaging property, flooding on 144. So it's good when the comments you receive match the issues that you found. Okay, so let's jump into the concept review. I kind of mentioned this a few minutes ago. When it's time for us to take all the information from the public and develop concepts, that's part of understanding the needs and the issues. We first strive for a standard design. And by standard design, I mean, it's a little blurry. State DOT Highway Design Manual. AASHTO is the American Association of Highway Transportation Engineers organization. Long story short, we have a lot of guidance documents that we're held to, especially this being State Route 144. They want to see the road being standard. That said, we start with a standard. There's constraints that need to be identified. There's times when the standards don't make sense in a particular area. I'm here to talk to all of you tonight too. I've already had some great conversations about why 4-foot shoulders may or may not make sense here. So we'll touch on that in a minute. We'll take the feedback from tonight from the town, DOT, revise the concepts one more time. These are concepts not for construction. I just want to repeat that one more time. They will go through a full design phase that takes into account a lot of other things, topography, right away, property lines. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about lanes and shoulders. 11-foot lanes and 4-foot shoulders are what's standard for this road, this classification. The lanes today are 11 feet. So the change you're seeing are the 4-foot shoulders. And two things. One, we wanted to show what the 4-foot shoulders look like because it's standard, but also because that's what's safely, the minimum safe shoulder to accommodate bicycle travel. We did hear from a lot of people that people want to ride bikes through here. So we wanted to show that because that's the fullest isn't the word. That's the widest build out that we probably would ever want to see here. That said, I'm gonna go quickly through this because I don't know that you can see it. The red lines you see on the outside of the roadway, if you get up close, it says AHB, approximate highway boundary. That's in between those is what the state owns associated with Route 144. So if anything's encroaching outside of that, and it does show that on some locations, that's where easements or property takings might be required if it ended up that way. So in some places, this 4-foot shoulder concept fits. Some places, those right-of-way lines don't necessarily exactly follow the road. It gets tight. This is up by Liberty Street, and it's right over the line. You know, I should mention these lines are tax map lines that we get from Boone County. When this project would be designed, we actually go out and survey and find the actual locations. A lot of times we find that it centers itself. But for this phase of a study, this is what we go off of. Pedestrian infrastructure. So the thought between where the sidewalks are shown, focus on connectivity. I was speaking with a few people up by the Church Street curve. There is a gap still in the connectivity. It's very tight there. The homes are very close to the road, and it's a steep drop off on the other side. For lack of a better way to say it, money could fix anything. We felt that that was a lot to take on, to be able to put a sidewalk there. But not to say sometime in the future that someone could channelize that drainage and build a sidewalk on top of it. You see these pretty pictures here all over the plans. Really, it's just to portray 11-foot lanes and a 4-foot shoulder and a sidewalk. We all know that 144 looks nothing like this. More realistically, I should have had a pointer. On one side, there's a very steep slope. So to put in that sidewalk, you're excavating back and putting in retaining walls. Or on the other side, it may drop right off to the Hudson. So there's either a lot of work that needs to happen or the whole road would have to shift in. Some of the things we're thinking about as we go through this. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was sidewalks. A lot of you noticed this orange box on the plans that we posted online. Projects cost money when there's this many factors to consider. So we wanted to break up the cost estimate and how the project might be able to be phased so that each phase could be constructed separately, go after grant money at separate times. So you'll see, I do have a slide about costs later. We basically broke it up to say sidewalks from Gill to the post office at Orchard, and then Orchard to Cardinal, and Cardinal to Cedar out to Shady Harbor. Sight distance. So this is what I mentioned earlier. The distance a driver can see ahead along the road unobstructed by obstacles. So it's not just curves. Here in particular, a lot of homes are very close to the road. There's walls, trees in the way. So those are all things that we look at. One of the curves that we study quite a bit, of course, is Church Street. And like I said, it's not necessary. Today, Church Street, you're on Church Street, you pull up, you can see both ways clear as day. It's the people on 144 that can't see. So one way to combat that is to tee up Church Street, and you'd have to stop instead of yield so that everyone can see the intersection better. Main streets. The top image is what is shown on the plan, and essentially all that's happening there is to kind of redirect vehicles with striping. Because in the red, everyone that lives here probably knows there's a huge retaining wall there. It's very steep. If you were to just connect those roads and your car's sitting there, no one's going to see you and you're not going to see. So in order for that to happen, Main Street's gotta come up, 144's gotta come down. Very large undertaking. So for the time being, we're showing the upper concept there. And Washington Avenue, it looks not so bad on a picture, but once you're there, there are houses and trees right there. So there was an opportunity and it looked like sufficient property to just tee that up a little bit better. Signage. There are quite a few signs out there today, you all know. Some of them are great. I think there's definitely an opportunity to improve the signage. A lot of the signs you see on the plan, I summarized here. There's a couple of mid-block crossings. That one in particular is down by the preserve. The idea there is the sign that's close to the crosswalk has those two squares. It's the rapid flashing beacons. And what happens there is you push a button when you're trying to cross the street, flashes for about 20 seconds so that a car can see it and it turns off. It doesn't flash all the time. And then there's an advanced warning sign, maybe 300 feet up ahead, so that vehicles get an idea that they might be expecting pedestrian in the road up ahead. Down on the bottom right, there's a whole host of different curve ahead warning signs. Some of them out there today are good. Some of them don't necessarily meet current standards. And the advisory speed underneath is based on a lot of things, design speed and the radius of the curve, boring things. So long story short, we have on the plan there some suggested curve warning signs. The two chevrons pointing to each other, they're back to back because when you're on the outside of a curve, you need to see the edge of the curve coming from both directions. So those are basically the small signs that are posted all along the edge of the curve. Just more visual warning that the road is turning. And then I already talked about Church Street converting that yield to a stop. Drainage, also covered this a little bit. Today, that drainage comes down the steep part of 144, combination of open closed system. It does end up being closed underground and it outlets to the Hudson a little ways down Church Street. I think, DEC and a lot of agencies, towns, easier for maintenance if it's an open system. These steep grades and the tight right of way, the tight property are going to make it challenging to keep that an open system. Let's see. So most of the corridor where we're putting sidewalk, there's two options for when you install sidewalk. You can either have a grass strip next to the road as a buffer and then install the sidewalk. Or when you're tight on space, you put a curb in and the sidewalk is right there on the side of the road. Both are standard designs. The curb is probably more realistic for here because it's a tighter corridor. The downfall is water flows off the road, hits the curb, needs to be collected in a drainage system. So that adds some cost to this. A little bit more on the oversized vehicles and speed. I don't believe it's on these concepts, but we have discussed with the town and DOT about recommending these radar feedback signs. I know a lot of people ignore them. I don't. I know a lot of people do pay attention to them. So no, they are successful in a lot of communities. But a little bit more about the shoulders. So I was speaking with Mr. Mosby earlier. There's a lot of concern that the 4-foot shoulders have the potential to increase speeds, and that's absolutely true. There needs to be discussions about weighing, do we want 4-foot shoulders for bikes or keeping things tighter, more narrow shoulders. I'm hearing from a lot of people that maybe the bicyclists don't use the corridor as much, or they're hobbyists, more professional bikers. They're not the families with kids trying to ride along the side of the road. So that's the case. Maybe 4-foot shoulders aren't needed here, aren't warranted. So that's a discussion we can have. In terms of oversized vehicles and speed, we have some thoughts here on non-physical enforcement or ideas. Increased police presence, enforcing those permits. That's difficult. The state police doesn't have capacity to sit here all day, every day. It is what it is. The town can keep talking to them as much as they want. I'm not sure how far they'll get, but that's an avenue. Part of this, we could work with DOT to install some regulatory signage, not only on this corridor, but at the sources of where the trucks are coming from, trying to attack it from that side. We have had discussions. We did a similar project in the town of Colony on Sand Creek Road. Has a very similar issue. It's a residential community. Anyone's familiar with Sand Creek Road, they have a lot of truck traffic that's going between Wolf Road and the airport. And the village, was trying to contact GPS makers to label it as a restricted route. And I know that the town works on this all the time. We continue to advocate with neighboring towns where that heavy vehicle traffic is generally coming from. How much does this cost? Primary elements contributing to this cost figure. Realigning that curve at Church Street. This is for 11-foot lanes and 4-foot shoulders. So if that were to change, that's going to affect these costs, of course. Sidewalks from Baldwin to the post office are in this cost estimate. Drainage improvements that come along with not only what's there, but putting new drainage in along the curb line. New top course asphalt, which we may not need anymore. So we're looking at between 4 and 5 million for that section. Does not include design, construction, inspection, right-of-way acquisition, if any easements are needed to construct that. And then we do have some draft figures to extend the sidewalks out to Cardinal, a little over 700,000 more, and almost another 1.75 million to go all the way out to Cedar. The majority of those costs are earthwork and retaining walls. I'm going to skip past this slide because it covered it quite a bit, but basically we're going to wrap up this study in the next month or two and be able to hand that over to the town and help them identify grant funding sources to move forward. That is the presentation. So if we can break for additional open house time, we really truly are here to hear what your concerns are and any other ideas. So if you could feel free to walk around and take a look. I'm going to leave this up for those online.
You just said something about this. Well, I don't know, I didn't help it. You just said that it was like 4 or 5 million for the first part, and then 1.7. Now we're at like 7 or 8 million. But how much more is it gonna cost for all those other costs that you were saying approximately? Like, is it 25% on top of that? Is it 50%?
Probably another 30%.
Wow. So that brings us up over $10 million, closer to 11 or 12.
One question. You're wishing and hoping that the town gets grants for this. What happens if the grants don't come through? This whole thing is kibosh.
Okay. So there was also a discussion with DOT when we first worked on this. The DOT.
Could you speak up, please?
Sorry. There's also discussion with DOT when we went into this whole project. DOT did pay for the entire study that was done. The town did not pay for the study at all. And at that time, DOT spoke to us and said that there would be a portion of the study of any work, depending on how much it would be paid partly by DOT, and then they would also assist us in getting grants. So there's a share from DOT as it is a state road as well. I just also want to say something about the truck traffic. We have been working with another part of DOT, the part of the DOT that works on routing and giving permits for the large truck traffic, the overweight and the oversized truck traffic. When they do a permit, they give a route that the truck should take. When we worked with, and we've been sending photographs of these trucks on these turns and not negotiating them very well to this gentleman. And he looked into this, and he looked and saw that the route that was on a permit did not indicate that the hamlet was restricted, and it just addressed and said, go to Route 9W from the Queenman's Industrial Park. So rather than taking the access road, which is 143, many trucks use their GPS and go through the hamlet. And that's why what Lisa was saying about signage and indicating no GPS and, that this is a restricted area. And so, yes, and we're hearing that new GPSs will actually show trucks, restricted areas, et cetera. But, actually really DOT's assistance in decisions and making that signage available to us and in continually improving these routes so that we can reduce the truck traffic and that trucks will know not to travel along that part of the road. Many people have said to me, well, why are we improving the road that encourage trucks? We don't want to invite trucks or encourage trucks, but we do know that sometimes trucks will still traverse it. They'll maybe ignore, they won't follow the whatever. And so we need to have the safer aspect of the road. The other thing is, it's not only trucks that we need to make this road safe for. And we've had other incidents where, I stand at that corner many times and I watch the speeding and I watch people not negotiating the turn. So it's not only trucks that are having trouble with that turn and some of these areas, it's also regular cars and other things as well. So I just wanted to mention those two things. So it's a continuous thing to continue to work on the truck traffic issue.
We have a big problem in the hamlet.
Can you speak
Yes.
like this?
We have a big problem in the hamlet. You mentioned GPS. New Baltimore is referred to, anybody who's ever tried to get anything shipped to your house, you know this. West Cooksaki. There is much confusion over our location, our zip code, so that has to be cleared up. So trucks, there's no way to alert trucks when you can't even get UPS to figure it out and FedEx to figure it out. It's a very large problem.
And that's why that DOT route is very important, because if they're giving a permit to an oversized or an overweight truck to come in, then they have to show on that permit that it's a restricted area. They have to show a route that goes through an access road, not through a non-access road. In Greene County, no part of 144 is an access road or a qualifying highway. So the trucks really need a special permit to be able to go anywhere, and they have to have that route on there. And this gentleman at DOT already identified, at least on one of the permits that we sent them pictures of this truck that was traversing there, that permit only said go straight to Route 9W. It doesn't say how to get to 9W, and if they're gonna use their own method or their GPS or whatever, they'll come through the hamlet, which is restricted. So that part, the truck traffic, is a whole another piece being worked on, and that needs to continue to be corrected and improved. But like I said, trucks may still come through, and we want to make the road safe for them, but all traffic, really. Anne Marie?
Yes, it seems like the economy of scale here to address the real issue is all out of whack. If the trucks are the real issue which precipitated this study, then sidewalks and all these other things are pretty much irrelevant. And the cost of doing these irrelevant fixes instead of addressing the real issues. If DOT is responsible for fixing the permit process, then they should be doing it. This makes no sense at all when we're talking about putting sidewalks in areas that there's no space to begin with. Secondly, this is a rural community. And I don't think the money, justifies worrying about bicycle riders. Because if you go any place in the town in Baltimore, if you ride a bike, you have to be careful because all our roads have curves like this and some places even worse curves. So if the main concern is the truck traffic is on the roads and it's not legal because the state DOT is not addressing the permit issues, then why aren't we addressing that?
Well, we are, and that's why I was saying
But
this
this
gentleman
whole
is,
project.
but there's
is
other
not-
issues besides just
and
the
what are
trucks.
they?
There's also
there's
speeding
accidents,
issues,
then
like I was
People should
saying.
slow down.
And that's what part of the study is gonna do. They're gonna
If it
put,
was that simple.
and that's what Lisa
If it
showed
was
us,
that
the
simple.
signage.
Hire a full-time sheriff or police officer to do speeding tickets out and
No.
increase
And that's
the
why,
amount of money the town gets. If people
Right.
are speeding and they're not paying attention to
Get a
the
camera.
signs.
right, and that's why
These
some
are
of these,
simple, you know,
but that's why a lot of the things that Lisa explained are to slow the traffic and smooth the traffic.
Can I have one person speaking?
I'm
We
sorry, my
don't need
fault.
an $11 million project to fix those issues. We need some common sense and some, state responsible people as well as local people. This is ridiculous to come to the taxpayers with an $11 million project.
And Anne Marie, as you said before, this is like going by the highest level of standards that need to be followed. And that's why we have everybody here, is to talk through this and say, what do we want? What are we concerned? What is our most serious problem that we want to correct? How do we want to correct it? So these problems have existed for a while, but we want to do it, as cautiously as we can. And as carefully. $11 million was if we went the whole 9 yards with
But you don't
all
even
the
need
things.
that.
But that's why we're saying, we're here to talk about what we do need, what we do see as the most important things to do. And so this was not what we're saying is gonna happen at all. We're saying this would be the highest standard, and we've got to peel it back to what's the most safe thing to do, what is the most urgent thing to do, where the biggest problems are. We're not saying we're gonna do every bit of this at all, and that's the whole reason that you guys are here, is to talk to us about that. So I think I can say, oh wait, no, Ellie was first.
I just want to make a couple of points. You're talking $11 million. Where it's coming from, God only knows, and you don't either. I can remember when the Hamlet tried to get water, and we didn't have enough income level people to pay the fees to give them water. How in God's name do you think they'll be able to afford paying off whatever this amounts to, whether it be 11 million, 15 million, no grants, little bit of grants?
And that's the whole reason why we need to narrow it down to what's the most important things the townspeople want and
And I
what we
think
need.
Anne Marie is right in saying, let's focus on the trucks, not sidewalks.
That's not going
Most
away.
of the people in this room live without sidewalks.
Who was saying, was Jeff gonna say something? I thought.
No, I
Okay.
was just.
So all I'm saying
Take it all
is, I don't think we need sidewalks as badly, or bicycle paths.
Right, and that's why we have to prioritize what we
And
all
let's
feel
focus on the trucks.
is the most important
And
thing.
you're not gonna slow these truck drivers down when they know it's a shorter route from Quinman's via the 144 and right out to
Right.
9W.
And that's
You're not
why,
gonna get them to
and that's
stop.
why we need to continue to work with DOT to make these changes on the route that they'll follow, the signage that we need, and we do still need some slowing.
And
We
I'm
absolutely
gonna
need
put a
slowing.
permit in my window on my car that says I shouldn't drive on 9W, and I'm gonna keep on driving, and who's gonna stop that trucker?
And that's part of the reason why I said, with everything we do to try to stop them, they may still come through some of them. And that's why the road needs to be smooth in order to protect the people that have been And there are families here in this town that have had serious issues because of that situation. So that's what we're trying to get to.
I'm gonna interrupt you and say
Go
this.
ahead.
I've had Central Hudson, the electric company, the power companies, each come in and knock on my door and say, we gotta have some of your property. Well, I got news for you. If I'm in the historical district and my porch is gonna go down in the sewer because you need that portion for a bike or for a sidewalk or whatever, I know how it hurts to lose. And I don't think it's fair after they've gone through all the steps of making it a historical district that you now have the ability to take the front porch off of their house because you need the
Okay,
space.
so first off, nobody was going to do that, and we talked about, eminent domain and not wanting to
It's like the
take
last thing we
those.
want to do.
Never wanted to do that.
But
The whole idea is to talk to you about the priorities of the issue. And I've already spoken to some people who say, yes, you could take that tree, you could do this, but as Lisa said, also easements. If people don't want that, then we'd have to think about another way of doing it. The idea was never to try to take people's
I'm
land.
not saying
Narrowing
it
the
is,
shoulders is another way to
but
avoid
it
that.
gets
narrowing.
forced upon us.
No, I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that we didn't want to do that. And we wouldn't have a forum like this if that's what we wanted to just do what we were wanted to do.
I wish you
Not at
were.
all.
I think it's time to move on to the next part of the program.
I'm sorry. Well, this is the question and answer part.
Yeah, but
So,
I'd like to touch on your truck issue.
Yeah. Amy
Remember
was
you
next.
touching on permit trucks? Permit trucks and the trucks that are coming through are two totally different things. Permit trucks are the heavy, oversized loads of the state.
Yes.
The trucks we're getting through are standard 53-foot box trucks, dump trucks. Those are permitted on that road. There's no weight restriction. Those are permitted 100%.
That's right.
So that's the clarification.
Well, we're getting, yes,
Part
you're
of the
correct.
other
We're getting both.
problem is your speed limit sign coming into the hamlet needs to be up the road another half a mile at the top of the hill. A lot of these trucks have already started shifting and you've got it down by Gill Road.
Yeah.
If that truck thinks it's 45 and now he's already going 45, he's not gonna slow down to 35
Yeah.
at all.
And that's exactly part of the signage that we need. We need a lot more signage to take care of that
I think
problem.
most of your problems. could
And
be-
no Jake breaks is another issue that we want to address.
Well, we don't
Because
get that many Jake breaks. We do get them, but they're not terrible, but. you know,
People were
this whole
concerned
project, 4-foot shoulders is all you need.
People were concerned about the Jake breaks because they said that there's no warning to the car behind when a Jake brake is being applied.
Well,
So that
you're
they can
responsible to pay
Step
attention.
in, yeah.
I drive a concrete mixer, I don't use brakes all the time, I slow down that way, it's your job to pay attention to what's going on in front of you.
Yeah, no,
I'd rather use a Jake brake than not at all.
right.
Well, yeah, the air brakes go up.
But better still, is like you're saying, slow the trucks down at a further level out. And
Well,
that's why we talked about many areas.
But it's to the point of
slow.
trucks, you've got 144 to the south, you've got 143 in the middle, and you got 396. Out of the three routes,
Yeah.
144 is the widest one,
Oh, yeah.
and the safest one for most people to come through.
That's why they come.
And, you know, we have been told of, issues with some of the trucks and traversing underneath the railroad trestle in Ravenna. That's a difficult.
Yeah.
They can't get underneath it and everything. Well, lately it's been better, but there's sometimes, I've been there when trucks got stuck.
Those are probably scrap haulers that are definitely running over.
Yeah, they were oversized, yeah.
Well, they gotta know. They're running over height, which is legal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, and this is all really new to me, and this may be an incredibly lame suggestion.
As loud as you can, please. Sorry.
Again, talk up.
Nobody take offense if this is a really lame suggestion, I'm very new to this. But just like how there's the suggestion that the trucks should, not use 144 in this little area, would it make sense to try to reroute the bikes, people who are doing bikes to Main Street where there are some sidewalks, where there isn't truck traffic, where there isn't people speeding, where it's very much more simpatico, I would think, to bicycles. And it's also scenic, you know, in terms of it's right by the water. So it just seems like instead of, you know, people feel like, oh, they're gonna take my barn to make a bike lane. We have this beautiful road right by the river. Can't they, it's Right
it's
there.
downhill. I mean,
Yeah.
you just.
Yeah, and their parks as well, I was talking about as well before.
I was talking to
That's
Peter
very-
about,
They don't bite. If you
I
can't
was
do
talking to Peter about this earlier. We come to the first meeting and say, do people bike here? And the answer is yes. But we didn't have a handle on if it's moms and their kids, or if it's a professional group coming
I don't
through.
see anybody.
I'm hearing this today,
You
so.
won't find any kids out there.
Is it because of safety? I mean, I don't know.
Right, so the people on the road are people that are more comfortable riding on the road like it is today. They don't need the 4-foot shoulders, they don't need a separate bike path.
Right.
So now knowing that, that is a huge piece of information.
If I could just say a quick comment on the bikes, I live right in the heart of the hamlet. And my bus always on the front porch whenever I can. And I gotta say that being here 35 years, the bike traffic is usually the real serious
Yeah,
obvious. And it is extremely rare. You see that. I never see families or anything. It's always the guys with the real nice suit, people, ladies and gentlemen with the real nice suits.
Right.
And it's very rare, but there is a good foot traffic. I would
And
say.
that's the
Yeah.
feedback that we need to hear to decide what we need to do, what we don't.
Yeah, just to let you know my
For clarity.
first observation. Sorry.
For clarity, can we just go back to the truck issue? So what is considered, what is the classification for oversized and overweight? And if, there's been discussion, to follow up on what he was saying, the permit. We have trucks that come to deliver food, beverages, we have trucks boats, everything that comes through the marina and the restaurant. The boats are permitted, but there's trucks. I'm just wondering, what is that classification and what are the,
There are dimensions, and I'm probably not remembering them, 50 in length or in height. 53 in length, right? And, well, the 53.
Yeah, height, length, and width.
Right. So there are dimensions for that. And, that's also an important point to recognize, is to bring that through. But in your case, you're not asking them to go up through the hamlet past the
No, we
post
direct
office
them
or
all
any of
to
that
come
more
down.
dangerous area. So that's an important consideration in anything that we would discuss with DOT.
right, so they have to be able to have access coming from the north and they can't be redirected to,
Coming from the north, not Bradley.
Right, redirected, but there are, I'm sure there's Empire, Empire Merchants their facility is down south, I don't know which one they come in, but they usually come in small.
Gonna restrict much on the local deliveries, because there are people who have water deliveries, people move in.
Right.
So, I mean, there has to be local deliveries.
Right.
I think that's what it's for yourself.
I don't think we're talking a problem with
Yeah,
the
well,
box truck.
that's not the biggest problem.
Yeah.
no.
The tractor trailer, something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the occasional deliveries, that's not a big line.
Right, I mean, just one more, when we see photographs of these huge trucks on that corner, they're in every crazy angle, halfway across the road, halfway into the church, halfway into the post office. They actually turn around in the post office when they realize they can't negotiate the turn. That's more of the situation that we're trying to get a handle on.
Real quickly, and this morning, my wife and I, Peter Molesky, my wife and I submitted comments, and Lisa had already read them, had a nice conversation with them this evening, so I appreciate that. I want to talk about the budget. Something I've been doing for 40 years as a civil engineer, and the first time you run these budget numbers, they're very large, and then you've got to break them back down. And as Lisa was mentioning earlier, you don't want to use the term worst case, but that layout is worst case now. You've got the 5-foot shoulder, 2 4-foot lanes, 2 11-foot lanes. You increase the width of the asphalt by 9 feet. When we did the petition 2 years ago, 150 people in the hamlet signed a petition setting line traffic calming that addressed the truck issue. And they wanted sidewalks, they wanted shoulders, they wanted crosswalks. Because with the expansion of the port, it's gotten very dangerous walking on 144. Trucks are still going to be there. The regular trucks, regular box trucks are still there. We're talking about the steel girders, the double stacked, the extra wide trucks that were going down through the curve regularly. As far as the budget goes, 2 years ago, the request was Gill Road to the marina. Make that safe for pedestrians, for bicycles and so forth. Address the truck issues the best you could. Since then, the project has expanded to the county line and 4-foot shoulders all the way to the county line. I don't think that should be part of this project. That would cut down the cost. If you take And if you look at Clemens, just to the north of us, once you get into Clemens, from James Drive to Westerwald, you have the 5-foot sidewalk, you have two 2-foot shoulders, and 2 11-foot lanes. That's traffic calming. It's narrower, people slow down. DOT did that project. I suggest we do something similar in the Hamlet. That will cut down a lot of costs, it'll cut down a lot of retaining walls, there'll be less impact on traffic. Thanks.
Everybody wants to 3-foot sidewalk, I think is what they usually build on. I know some of it's wider down there, but
I would have that.
Yeah, my name is Mark Peckham, I'm in Hamlet, and I'd like to echo some of what Peter said. I think one of the goals that I see for this project is traffic calming. What are the physical constraints we can put on the road that will cause people to try to slow down? I think if we get the traffic to slow down, we'll have a lot less conflict, and a lot less difficulty navigating that Bishop turn. I think we can do that in the context of a historic district without changing the character of New Baltimore's historic district or affecting property owners, but we've got to slow the traffic down. And by making physical constraints in the road, adding visual cues like raised crosswalks, changes in texture, people get the idea that this is a special area, you have to drive more slowly through here. I think it would make a big difference and we can do it for less than $11 million.
what about reducing the speed?
Well, absolutely, we should do that too. And as you know, people don't always obey the speed limit.
No, but if you see 25.
Right. But if you create these physical structures, that will help encourage people to obey.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying.
Question, what do you mean by physical structures?
Curbs, sidewalks, crosswalks.
Speed limit signs.
Yeah.
You know, having-
I just noticed that there's no riprap, proposed in, and I want to make sure no riprap floors are ever put 90 degrees perpendicular. Between traffic, middle of a residential area.
Why do we do it?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to speak to the speed limit, issue a little bit. So in New York State traffic law, there's.
Excuse me, I really am trying to listen, could we go back to maybe one person talking at a time?
Yeah.
So there are different jurisdictions over different kinds of roads. Here, because it's a state road, DOT has the jurisdiction for setting speed limits in the city owns the roads. So in the city of Albany, the city owns the roads, and the city of Schenectady, the city owns the roads. So here, the state road is owned by DOT, so we would have to go through a DOT speed study in order to set a speed limit. The most recent update to what we call the MUTCD, the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is a federal guidelines for setting speed limits, for signage, and so on and so forth, has kind of loosened up those requirements where we can look at the 50th percentile for speed versus before we were looking at the 85th percentile, and that's where we would set the speed limit. So there are some options, but we do also, like our traffic engineers like to see some changes to the design speed of the road before they'll consider lowering the speed as well. So I think some of these traffic calming treatments coming into the hamlet will definitely help when it comes to looking at what the speed can be lowered to.
Just wanted to bring up, I guess, the cost of the project again. I know a lot of people are concerned about the cost and taxes going up. So is the main cost going to be covered by the state, not by local taxes? Is that, because I think a lot of people are concerned that their local taxes are going up.
There's many different kinds of grants. There's grants that are 100% funded. Most federal grants are 80% funded with 20% left over that you could then get other grants to pay for the 20%. It's a whole.
But it's not going to be the local town, it's the state.
No town can afford these projects.
Exactly.
Anywhere, not just here, so.
I don't know if that was clear to everybody that
We would like to provide the local match for federal.
Sure, true, on a state road in a small hamlet like this.
Well, last I heard,
usually-
the grants opportunities were a reimbursement grant. Is that still correct?
Yes.
So the town has to put up 11 million, and then we have some assurances we will get reimbursement from the granting entities.
At their time.
So, you know, it's a,
When they're ready.
you know, to bite your fingernails, but we have good assurances from our conversations, so.
Yeah, and federal grants
But
are
we-
often not reimbursed.
We had
by
to
grants.
come up with 11 million.
Would this be like the
Or
water
10.
district? When,
Yeah.
and the water
No.
districts, the people in the water district pay for it versus the whole town?
We're having conversations about that, but, no, not
You can't
exactly.
afford
No,
Not the
and
same.
we would be working with DOT for some support and funding on, and we would be working for grants as well. And not all federal grants are up
I worked
where
for
you don't
government
have to
for
pay.
38 years, so nothing is.
I also worked on federal grants for
So, you know-
35 years, so I know that we get funding
I don't live
completely
in
without
Hamlet,
having to put up the
And I
money.
feel for the trucks things, but I think there are simpler methods to fix
And,
this.
and that's exactly what we've been talking about all
And I
night.
don't want to have my tax bill go up.
And nobody wants that, Emery, nobody wants that. We want to do this the most financially good way and the most safe way. And don't focus on the 11 million, because I think we've already made it clear that there's ways that we can trim down many ways to do it in a simpler manner and not have to do all of the, you know, the 4 foot, all of that stuff. We want to try to use the simpler traffic smoothing things, but we want to focus on the most serious issues that we have to do. And the truck traffic is going to continue to be a conversation I'm working with the DOT on. So that will also help. But there are definitely things we can do for a much lesser price tag where we can get grants and we can get support from DOT that we would be able to do as a start. And we also talked about phases, as Lisa said. We talked about phases of things, hit the most important things first. And then if we need to go further, then try to do another phase. But it would be stepwise. We're trying to do this in the most careful way we can, but achieve the best results for safety right now. So, I'm sorry,
Yep. So in town right now, there's three or four different special districts around town. I'm in one of them, I'm in the water district on Scheller Park Road. Would there be talk of doing a special improvement district here and not spreading it across the entire tax base? If 150 or 160 people signed in favor of this sidewalk district, potentially, why would that get spread to people that live out in Honey Hollow Road and Scheller Park Road and?
DOT is paying
so
for
the
it.
objective is not to have to do that by taxes at all, as much as possible, okay? So a district is is something that would happen if there was it could happen if there was need to be any town funding out of it, but we're trying not to have to do it that
There is
way.
a thing called a sidewalk district.
Sidewalk improvement district, it
Thank
says.
you. And we only just looked at that, we haven't gone down and explored that. So, the anticipation is, as Deb said, that much, if not all of the funding could come from outside sources. In which case, we would have no need for, anything but to pay for and then reimburse. I am worried about one thing. We've had a few projects in town. There's my daughter. In any event, I am worried about one thing. And that is, every project, as Judd knows on being on the board, that we've had, including the water district that we're in, the costs are estimated, no offense intended, by our engineers at this level. And we have the money. And then it came in at that level, and we don't have that money. And so I like the numbers you said, if they are reimbursed. But I'm worried that, in fact, I heard from someone who worked for the state, no names mentioned, that it could be 16. But but that may be the worst case scenario. Let's hope we do good. And by the way, you didn't mention, but barely, that we did talk about perhaps phases so that we get this done, get grant funding for it, and then we move on to the next phase. So we did talk about phasing. And I'm trying to remember who was involved in that conversation. But a number of us.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. Right now, we're not going to say, oh yes, 11 million. We're doing it all. We're trying to hear from you what
everybody thinks are the most important things to do. Try to trim it down as much as possible. Try to take the smoothing approach, the simpler approaches as much as possible. And it may be that we'll do it that way for a while and see how effective that is. But, I think there's a lot more thought to be put into it. I want to recommend to people, please, you've heard a lot tonight. We have that website. There's a page on the website where you can submit your comments, and MJ has been reading them all and documenting them all. And those are all going to go into any thoughts of what work we might do on a stepwise basis, the most important work, the work that seems to be the most serious that needs to be done.
Whose responsibility is it to maintain the sidewalks, like, remove snow, make sure the ice is salted and sanded? I've heard stories in Delmar where homeowners have been sued
Most
because
cities do that.
their sidewalk in front of their house wasn't shoveled or sanded or salted.
I know someone in the sewer.
Yeah.
It fell on his place.
Yeah.
There's a crack in the pavement.
Mhm.
He had to put the bill.
Does the town code cover that now? I didn't look.
Some sidewalks on Main Street, though, they're
Yeah,
not-
so it must
they're
be
not
in there.
maintained by the town.
We're talking about.
Yeah, we can look into that.
I didn't want to do that.
You can volunteer to be a snow shoveler.
It's also been used against them. If you're not even something that's valid, take care of it, something that's really not.
But it's the same as what we have to plow.
Yeah.
They're public.
You don't know when you're inside.
I mean, generally speaking, DOT does not clear that.
I made a lot of money.
I'm sorry, that's fine.
No, that's when you're employed at Walmart.
It's just about time now, but people have brought up a lot of great points. And please, go to that website and keep giving us your comments, because that's gonna help us formulate what the next steps are gonna be and what we're gonna decide we really need to do, what would be the best things to do, the most important. And we can talk with DOT about those things and work out, costs and et cetera. So,
Is that the website, that QR code?
oh, that is, yes.
Yeah, they'll take you there.
Or the www below it.
Yeah,
Yep.
www.mi.40%. It's on the flyer, we have a visit on the presentation slides that we gave them.
Google, put that in.
I know. I think you could post it on the town website as well.
Yeah, we'll post it definitely on the town website, and if everybody signed in, did you get emails as well?
Yeah.
Then we can also send it to the emails on that other folks who came in too, but it'll be on the town website. Yeah, great.
So, Lisa or Deb, as we close out, the next step is, and an expected time frame for that step is, fill in the blanks, please.
The next step is to revise these concepts. We're gonna be making some big changes, so typically we would revise these concepts and pump out the final report and be done. We're gonna need to go back and forth a little bit more on this before we do that. So the next steps is we will revise the concepts, run them past DOT in the town again, and then finish. The report is essentially a written narrative of what we've been talking about tonight, so there's nothing new in there. That's why it will be posted to the website, but it's several hundred pages that I don't know if anyone can see the website. Yes, yeah, the presentation will be posted to the project website tomorrow. The concepts are already up there. When they're revised, they will be replaced.
But we do need to keep in mind that no grant or funding is definite ever until we get it in. So right now, we've gotten this picture that we're gonna get grant and funding. There is no definite about that. And we need to take it on that.
I'm thinking maybe the town can, let's say we approve this, contingent upon funding, without, we're just digging a hole. Be hard to pull ourselves out, but we would have to have a contingency to get that reimbursed and something to that, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but,
I mean, that's why you'd probably want to think in phases also, which is, you might want to do something that would not be ridiculous, you know,
Sure.
whatever. And do that first. I mean, sidewalks would be nice, but that doesn't have to be the first thing to do, you know, so that, and, you know, maybe it down the road, so to speak, sort of thing. Those two. But, you know, just, if we could do something, I mean, I think the basic thing we want to do is try to find some way of traffic calming in that area. And that's not just a local thing, it's a public safety thing. And, you know, that curve at Church Street is crazy. I have, you know, driven a lot of places and you rarely run into a curve like that. You know, right, you're barreling along and what looks like a state highway, because it is, and then suddenly you're going more than 90 degrees. So it's, you know, so I think that's really, there has to be, the signage has to improve, you know, things like that, but anything you can do to slow it down. And sort of ironically, probably you would not want to change the geometry of it, because all that's going to do is encourage truck drivers to come that way. I mean, if you do get a guy who has to come up there and says, what did I just get into? He's not going to come back again. Whereas if you make it a smoother curve, it probably will be like, oh, good, now I can come through here.
It's a very good point and something I neglected to say. As the gentleman in the back said earlier, 53-foot trailers are permitted to be here. They're able to be here. They don't need a special permit. The design way on the left, that layout, I should say, with that striped hatching, let's just say, crazy scenario, 2 of those trucks need to pass each other at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what would be needed to accommodate that. So again, everyone's saying this is the worst case layout. That's what we needed to show to understand what the impacts would be. Will that happen? Maybe once, maybe never.
No, actually, we have a photograph of 2 trucks exactly at the same time.
So I just wanted to say where that came from and what the thought process was behind it. That's all. Yes.
I just want to ask a question about the non-qualified nature. I thought it was my understanding that any truck with a 53-foot heat number on the back of it, in other words, a tractor trailer carrying a 53-foot, was part of the non-qualified. I did not believe that any truck with a 53-foot or larger was supposed to be on 144. I could be incorrect, but that's my understanding.
You guys don't know, do you?
I can tell you what the definition of a qualifying or access highway is, but as far as I know, that it was 53 or less. These are
the max.
for the length of the truck, that's the maximum. It's under, and then larger than that would require a permit. And as the gentleman in the back said before, there are 3 dimensions. There's the length, width, and weight, or height and weight. So it's not just the length of the trailer that's the defining of whether you need a permit or not. It's also the height and the weight.
Yes,
It's just that
also
the Senate said something about
escort vehicles as part of that as well.
Yeah.
I believe that my information was given to me by the state trooper who does the weights and limits. And so I could have understood it incorrectly or written it down incorrectly. But when he was monitoring the trucks on the road, he was the one who had first informed me that it was a non-qualifying road. And as he defined it, because you have to add the 53-foot load plus the cab of the tractor trailer, that's what makes them oversized. So it can't be that you're looking at a 53-foot truck and I'm thinking about the 53-foot load.
Right, no, it's not 53 with everything, it's 53.
For the trailer.
The trailer. All right. Because they assume that the cab is going to be adding.
Right. I can have a bunch.
Good question.
Deb, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This may be a naive question, but it seems to me that going up Church Street, the line of sight is fine.
Yeah.
The problem is for traffic coming in on 144, it
would see this, so that's where you would want the stop sign, rather than swapping out the yield to the stop sign on Church. Because then somebody not only has to stop, but they might have the opportunity to see what's coming.
The stop signs on 144?
That is an option to look into. Just keep in mind, stopping vehicles that need to start back up are allowed. That's something that we consider. And create more emissions, yes, but absolutely something we can check into.
They're not worried about emissions, those traffic doesn't care about traffic.
Yeah, listen, be careful, we don't tell you the only with 20 mile an hour and 15 mile.
Yeah.
The cameras are doing, oh God, there you go.
Then you will get a camera.
That's what we could do, get a camera,
Could
put
make
it
money.
on a pole and
Oh,
steer them
yeah.
around.
You know how to contribute to that.
You're gonna watch it.
I'm just here for the ride.
Thank you, everyone. We do really appreciate your time.
I have a whole speech prepared.